What is going on, party people, and welcome back to episode 62 of the Whatnauts review show. I almost screwed up there and just completely crashed. It's not one of those things where I said the wrong thing and I was just like, I have no idea what happened there. It was like I went to the edge and was like, whoa, back off.
I'm not going to run out onto air like Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, exactly. This is episode 62 of the Whatnauts review show, where each week we have a different story to talk about. Could be a comic, could be a movie, an anime, manga, something else, who knows. We rate it, we watch it, we do what we have to do, and come back here and talk about it. My name is Kyle Springer, and I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson.
You are. Hello.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm good today, Kyle. How are you?
Doing pretty well. I had a big bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch when
Nice.
I woke up. That's always fantastic. And I finished Jessica Jones Season 3 yesterday.
That's a lot of seasons.
Yeah.
Way to go for her.
Yeah. Which I think is also the last of the Netflix original Marvel
Yeah.
shows, because they're all done. They all got canceled. So, who knows? Maybe they'll come back one day.
Yeah, that's the mystery, if they are dead
Disney
only
Plus
to be
or
resurrected
Hulu or
on Disney
something.
Plus or not. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Melissa.
Yes,
This week, we are also talking about some superheroes.
we are.
Yeah. Quantum and Woody, volumes
Mhm.
1 through 2, is what we are going to be talking about today. This is our first time reading some comics from the Valiant universe. Most of you guys, I'm sure, know Marvel and DC, but there's more comics publishers out there than that.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, but very few of them do like shared world superhero stuff. And Valiant Entertainment has a shared world superhero universe, and it's generally a pretty good alternative. You don't have to keep up with 50 titles. There's like eight of them.
There's no retconning and like crazy events and time. I mean, presumably there is, but not
There
as
is,
much as
but-
there is in like the entire history of X-Men or something. It's like we are starting fresh.
It's consumable. It's manageable, which is I think often daunting for people trying to get into comics or being like, hey, I love DC. Where do I start with Marvel though? And with these guys, it's just like, all right, we'll just start here. It's start with volume 1. And it's nice because a lot of the books don't really cross over all that much, or when they do, it's you don't need to know 20 years worth of history and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
it really seems like it is truly a shared universe and not a interactive universe.
Not a woven tapestry.
Yes.
So we decided to read Quantum and Woody volumes 1 and 2. I think I had read volume 1 a couple years ago, but it was I don't really remember it. So it was almost like reading these new. Again, I had not read volume 2 though.
I'd never heard of them.
Yeah, so what were you expecting? Because I don't think I pitched this one very well.
I got the gist of it. I knew it was two brothers of some sort who stumbled into having superpowers and were trying to solve a murder, and they were very bad at it. Like I Googled this thing just to sort of get an idea of what it looked like. And I saw that volume 1 was titled The World's Worst Superheroes. I'm like, that's it. Now I'm sold. Like, how ragtag can it get?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now, and let me read you the opening thing. It says, Quantum and Woody is a comic book series created by writer Christopher Priest and illustrator M.D. Bright. Let's see, editor Fabian Nikiza called.
Oh, Fabian Nicieza?
There you go.
A name I only know from listening to some Jay and Miles a while ago.
There you go. He called Priest because he wanted a buddy superhero book similar to Power Man and Iron Fist, which I didn't really pick up on that until writing this.
Huh.
And let's see, skipping down a little bit, drawing inspiration. Oh, let's see. Originally reluctant to work on this series, Bright suggested they make the white character the comic relief for once. Drawing inspiration from the characters played by Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes in White Men Can't Jump.
Oh my god. I see it now.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because we typically do like, hey, if you liked this book, what else might people like? And I hadn't really come up with stuff, and I still was like, I don't know what I would suggest. And then they mentioned Power Man and Iron Fist, and I was like, oh. Well, duh. Yeah.
And this is something I've mentioned. This will be at least the third time I've brought it up. It's got a real Venture Brothers feel to me.
Yes. That was one of the ones that I was like, I guess it's kind of like that or something. But yeah, so what did you think, having read the first 2 volumes?
I really had a good time with this one. This was so much fun. This is maybe one of the funniest comics I've read in a while.
Interesting. There you go. What was so funny about it?
I don't know. Like, just all the back and forth chatter. It's everybody there, and they've all got their different perspectives. Like, they're like Quantum Eric is like so straight-laced. Yeah. And so by the book about everything. Like, there's a part, like, I think the very first time you meet him as an adult, he is learning, like, drop your weapon, put your hands down in various languages so that he can be a cop in any part of the world.
Yeah.
It's practical, but it's so practical. It's like, you nerd.
Yeah.
And then like, Woody's just an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
I like a disaster.
So I don't know if I liked this book.
Really?
Or not. Yeah. I think I liked what they were trying to do. Because there is stuff like Power Man and Iron Fist, which I've read a couple of those newer volumes, and I really liked that. This reminded me of stuff like we mentioned, Venture Brothers or South Park, just in like how irreverent the humor is and stuff like that. And I see what they were going for. I like what they tried to do. I don't know if it hit the mark though.
And the first 2 volumes are very different from each other. And I definitely like the first volume a lot more than the second one, because the first one's so much more bombastic, ridiculous, super heroic. And the second one's a little bit more grounded in real world threats.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's not bad. I don't think I would say that. I think it took a shot at a very specific, like, hey, this is the type of book that we're doing, and it just slightly off to the right, if that makes sense. It's like you're almost there, but it felt like it was missing something. But we will get into that in just a sec. We have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Melissa.
Yes.
Last week, we covered a movie called Serenity. Tell me about that.
It's not the Nathan Fillion spaceship movie. It's the Matthew McConaughey boat movie from earlier this year in 2019. And it looks on the surface just like this sort of psychological thriller. He's a fisherman. His ex-wife shows up saying, hey, I hate my new husband. I need you to take him out on your boat and push him off the side and make it look like an accident, and I'll give you all this money for it.
Exactly.
Kind of noir, kind of a thriller. And then it gets absolutely bonkers, and they throw this wild twist into it halfway through.
Definitely. So go check that one out. That's episode 61 of the Whatnauts review show. We also have a brand new exclusive episode of the review show for our Patreon supporters at the $3 tier. We just covered Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, and it is up. You guys can go listen to it right now. I have mentioned the past couple weeks that it seems like I've been advertising it for the past like 2 years. But we finally got it up. So I'm super excited about that. We covered season 1 of Mob Psycho 100 way back on episode 47 of the Whatnauts review show. That is up. That is public. Anyone can go listen to that. But we decided to check in with season 2 for our Patreon supporters. If you guys want to support us on Patreon, it's patreon.com/thewhatnauts. And for a single $1, you can get access to the live streams here of this show, of the Whatnauts review show. You can also get all sorts of exclusive content at our $3 tier. And at our $5 tier, we give a couple thank yous and shout outs to people who are supporting us at that tier. So thank you to Sam and Christine for helping us out a ton. Yes, we appreciate it greatly. It helps us cover some of the costs making this show, and we get to focus on making the stuff, which is fun. We don't have to worry about money as much.
But wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice if we had money? You can support us on Patreon. So yeah, that is about it. We also did our results of our E3 predictions. A couple weeks ago, I made Melissa act as a magic 8-ball for some E3 2019 predictions. And E3 has already come and gone, and so we checked in on those predictions and see what we got right and wrong. That was on an episode of the Captain's Log, so be sure to check that out as well. You guys can find out more on our website, thewhatnauts.com, or you can find all of our podcasts just by searching The Whatnauts, wherever you get your podcasts. There you go. That's it for housekeeping. Let's get into spoilers.
Yes.
Hell yeah. Where do you want to start with this, Melissa? It looked like you were looking something up there for her a bit.
No, I was looking up the illustrator of the second volume. Her name is Ming Doyle. And like, I know that name from something.
Yeah.
And I looked her up, and she's done a ton of different comics. Like, she's done some Constantine, some Batgirl, a Rocket Raccoon and Groot story. I could have sworn I remembered her name connected to animation, but maybe she's just more prolific as a comic writer, and like just scrolling through a quick Google, all I'm getting is the comic results, and I'm not getting the animation yet. But I knew her name from something.
Yeah. I'm trying. I don't know if I see anything immediately jumping off the page in terms of animation, but yes, she is a prolific comic book illustrator. That is for sure. So let's start with the art then, since you mentioned that.
Yeah.
What did you like or dislike about the art? What worked? What did not work?
I liked the art a lot. I liked how sort of dynamic and goofy it is. It's not super over the top, like bouncy, rubbery, like nobody's doing any crazy, like jaw dropped literally all the way to the floor type of faces.
Yeah.
But it's so vibrant and expressive. And the art style's fairly different between the book 1 and book 2. And I like the way it looks in book 2 also. It's got a little bit more of like this kind of classic look to it in a way I couldn't quite put my finger on. Like, it's got this sort of simple but like well hatched and well shaded line work as a basis for it that kind of reminded me of like Johnny Quest or
Okay.
like old, like the simple, like clean
Interesting.
lines of old cartoons, you know, if you're getting that. And I think that
Yeah.
kind of helped the kind of pulpy aspect of this story where they are like part of this grand superhero legacy, but they're not good at it. And to sort of play off
Yeah.
that with that very traditional action adventure look to the book, I think was pretty good.
Yeah. I'm showing a couple of the pages
Mm.
from Comixology on the video version here, so people can see some of the artwork. But yeah, it's I think personally I liked the art in Volume 1 a little bit better.
I think me too.
But I think they both work really well for this book,
Yeah.
and just how it doesn't really take itself too seriously, right?
Mm.
Like
Yep.
it does go for this very goofy and dynamic buddy cop kind of superhero team where, yeah, they're just terrible at what they do.
They are.
and it's they don't like each other, they fight, and there's this comedy that comes with that. And I think you can't do that style of book if you have a very, very kind of classic superhero look where it's very I guess even like classic artwork in the terms of like these superheroes look like Greek gods and they do the, you know, it's like, no.
Oh yeah, if this was like an Alex Ross painterly type of artwork, it would not play at all.
Yeah, and so I think the fact that their faces are more expressive, the line work is a lot more stylized. They are. I don't want to say they look goofy or grotesque, but it like there is this kind of way of like, okay, let's let's exaggerate the length of the fingers, let's exaggerate how big the knuckles look or how big they're just weird small touches like that I think makes everything look funny in the best way possible. So I really liked that as well. Let me see if I can eventually pull up some pages from Volume 2.
And there's something this book does that I recognized as a potential reference to something, and I know you didn't get it because you've never seen this show.
What would that be?
So throughout the book, like every time there's like kind of a section break, like a couple times per issue when it like changes places, it changes time. We're very clearly going from one scene to another. There's like a little black bar with white text in it that's like this kind of mini subtitle.
Yes.
You know, just sort of and like very often they're very jokey. They're sort of commenting the sort of meta commentary on, and this is what the scene is going to have. You know what other brother-based comedy has black and white title cards like that?
I don't.
Frasier.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's supposed to be a reference to that, but that's immediately what it reminded me of, all the title cards in Frasier.
So yeah, it very well could be referencing that. I feel like I've seen it in other stuff, so I don't know if it's like if this specifically that, or if it's just if like,
this
hey, there's
wasn't
this thing that
if this wasn't a comic about a pair of brothers bickering, I don't know if I would have made the connection either. But I thought there was a neat thing that sort of tied those two things together, whether it was intentional or not.
Yeah, so I'm finally pulling up some pages from Volume 2 so they can see that stuff. There is Woody finding the email, all that stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting that they stood out, because the subtitles, I think I eventually started ignoring them.
Really?
Honestly, yeah. Dogs are barking in the background there. I think my roommates are off to go see a baseball game, so she put the dogs upstairs. Yeah, I feel like I started just kind of ignoring the subtitles, because I felt like the subtitles, not just in the implementation, but what they were saying was some kind of reference to something, and I didn't get the references at first. At first, I was just like, all right, they're just some subtitle thing that I don't really,
And that's what Frasier would do too. A lot of them were these very kind of highbrow, like literary or cultural references, or like very complex wordplay that was just like an extra joke thrown in there, and not anything that had any real meaning to it.
I was wondering if they were song titles or lyrics to something, and I was just like, I don't know or recognize any of these things, so I just them. Yeah, just like, oh well. But yeah, I do think the art on this book served the comic very well.
Another neat thing, this only pops up like twice, but there's when a character like gets drugged or gets knocked over the head and they're woozy or whatever, the way they distort the text in their text bubble is really nifty looking.
Yeah.
They put the text in there like regular and then took the Photoshop like morph tool and just sort of poked all the text around, and it's all like wiggly and wavy. Yeah. It showed up just a handful of times, but it was really neat whenever that came up, and I've never seen text played with quite like that.
So speaking of that, and I think this will eventually segue us into something else here, but there was a couple other times when they talked about it but didn't really dive too deep into it. This idea that they had to kind of be within the same they have these bracelets that they had to like touch or something so that they wouldn't evaporate into the quantum realm or something like that, and they didn't dive too much into that. We'll get back to that though. But speaking of the word balloons, it happened on the word balloons sometimes too, of as they started to separate and stuff like that, there were parts of words kind of it looked like it was a hole punch or something, and someone took a hole puncher to the word balloon, and you could make out enough to be like, all right, I know what he's saying or the gist of it. And I liked that. I like when letterers and artists get creative like that, and like, oh, if this is happening to them, then there's a good chance that maybe what they say is not all coming through, and stuff like that. So
that was also very neat.
Yeah, I liked that. But let's talk about their powers.
Yeah.
For a sec here, because despite this being a superhero book, they almost don't talk about their powers. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, and they don't get them. Like, they know they can make a force field, but they can't always exactly do it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get it, but it's like too weak, or it's at the wrong angle, or it's the wrong size. And we haven't gotten any practice with it yet. Like, there's no danger room scenario where they're like, okay, let's just test these out and find out what they can do and challenge each other.
Yeah. Or like them at the lab when they were first about to get their powers, being like, oh, this is what Dad was working on. That must mean X, Y, and Z. And so then once they get their powers, they're being like, oh man, I wonder what that means for me. Oh, I can shoot these laser beam things? Huh. Okay, that makes sense because of all of, this, that, like, there's nothing like that. They just happen to point in a direction and explode a cop car because he shot this thing out. He's like, I don't know how I did that. Oh my god, and in one sense, I really like that they just they don't know, they don't care, they're not smart enough to understand
and like, there's no place they can really go to kind of figure it out. They don't have a lot of intel on their side. They don't have a guy in the chair or any scientists they know.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I mean, we only read the first 2 volumes, and I think
there's at least a third one on Comixology.
There's at least a third one. I skimmed through it, and I think there's a 4th one.
Nice.
It's on Comixology. I don't remember if it's on Comixology Unlimited though, but I think Wikipedia is a little bit wrong. Maybe, I don't know. Because it was saying there was a. I was skimming through it, and it said like it only lasted 13 issues. Which, if that was true, and I had known that, I would have been like, let's just read all 13.
Yeah.
You know? I guess we only read the first 8, but yeah, then there's that volume 3, and then there's a volume 4, which is a continuation, from what I understand, but it's titled a little differently. It's Quantum and Woody Must Die.
Oh,
is what that one was called. And that's not like the subtitle of the book. Like that is the title of the book, not just like Quantum and Woody. It's Quantum and Woody Must Die. So it's not like a subtitle thing. So I don't know. But they just we haven't seen them explore their powers, and that's being a superhero. That's kind of something I want to see them do, is understand like the changes that have happened in their life, and what does that mean
it's
for
all
them?
Outward superhero changes, like literally what costumes, like what do we wear, what do people call us, what is our kind of public image like, can we get a cool new lair. The Woody is all about getting this optioned as a movie, but there isn't a ton of like, there's some psychological introspection, like just them dealing with being estranged for so long, and then it's their dad's death that brings them together, and now they are stuck together pretty much. They got to clang those bracelets together every day or they start to deatomize. But there isn't any biologic looking in, like, okay, how different is my body? Maybe I should go get a blood test or something.
For me, I think one of the big things that didn't work with this book was some of the humor. I think it's very plain to see that Woody is a douchebag.
Yeah.
He is not a good person, and it's one of those weird things where it's like, I'm not someone who's against comedy and being like, oh, you shouldn't joke about X, Y, and Z, but at the same time, there's also things you don't want to normalize or stuff like that. I don't know if they ever really did anything that was like, oh, wow, yeah, that shouldn't be in the book or anything like that. But I think they were flirting with the line. Because
it is very crass. Yeah. And not all of it worked on me, but there's some parts of it I did like.
And I don't mind that they're doing it. I think shows like South Park or the Venture Burrows do stuff like that very well, and they make fun of everything. Like it's just it's a weird thing to like, if they're superheroes, I want to root for them.
Okay.
But especially Woody is such a like not good person that I don't like him. Like, he makes a gay joke and then immediately starts backpedaling. Oh, not in the offensive way. No, okay. I meant and it's just like, all right, dude. Like,
well, what he says was, like, he tries to put on the superhero costume and then he took it off because he's like, I thought it looked gay. Not in a derogatory sense, just like, I had a gay friend and this is exactly what he would wear when he would go out clubbing, and I thought it would send the wrong message to ladies, so I took it off.
And like, it's not even like, I mean, I guess I'm not gay, but it doesn't seem like it would be that offensive. But at the same time, it's just like this, like, that's his brand of of humor, where he will say something that might be like, whoa, dude, what and
then he will try and explain himself, like, no, what I was thinking was this.
Just like, no, that's not. Just
like, nobody lets him get away with it, though. Like, Eric is always like, Woody, no. And so I don't think the jokes he's telling in book 1 are going to be the jokes he's necessarily telling in like book 4. Like there's not
Which I
much of
would
an
be
arc, but I
really
can see how there's like they
interested
could go there. Yeah.
in. Yeah, so that, like I guess that's what I'm starting to get at. We only read the first 2 volumes, so we didn't read all that much.
No.
He starts off as an unlikable character. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see him grow into someone that is much more likable and learns a lot more responsibility and stuff
I
like
think
that,
he
and has to
could.
like rethink his actions or what he says or how he
Mm-hmm.
comes across to the public. Same thing for Quantum too, for
Mm-hmm.
Eric, because he is so stiff and he is
Yes.
so cardboard that he is also unlikable. But not
Like they
because
run
he
into
says,
a kid on the street, like they jump down in their superhero costumes or whatever, and some kid is like, "Are you a superhero?" And he's like, "Yes. Floss your teeth."
yeah. Like he's such a cardboard cutout, just a limp
Yes.
noodle that he's also unlikable. But it's not
He's
for
not a
stuff that
limp
he
noodle.
says.
He is a dry, uncooked, stiff,
Yeah,
brittle
sure.
piece of linguine.
Sure. And it's just like I want him to loosen up
Mhm.
and learn to make a joke. Like
Yeah.
just say something that's borderline offensive, please. you know.
Like you would rather it be equalized among both of them instead of like real off kilter where one of them's so straight laced and the other one is so wild.
Like yes and no.
Okay.
Like it's straight, because yes, I want them to grow and change, but their growth and change would bring them, I think,
Yes.
more equal, which I also don't want, because that makes for a really boring book, right? And I think with the buddy cop stuff, you have to have those extreme
Yeah.
differences where
I think
this
they
guy's a douchebag, this guy no one likes because he does everything by the book, you know.
I think they could do it they could still wrangle that. Like Woody could be a little bit more socially conscious, but he still like steals everything. And
Yeah.
Eric's like, "Listen, you have to stop stealing." But one time he like steals a car for a chase or something. You know,
Yeah, or
like I think
like
they can play that back and forth.
I think they can even out a bit and still
Mhm.
be like, all right, this guy is the straight one. This guy is the douchebag that no one
Mhm.
likes, and I feel like they can lean back into stuff when necessary. Oh, this guy really is a douchebag, you know, or hey, oh, this guy, man, he is boring as hell, you know. But I think that's what you have to do with buddy comedy stuff.
Yes.
But I want them to change.
Yeah, like you need a good cop, bad cop to sort of have that juxtaposition and that comedic conflict. You have to make sure the good cop isn't boring and the bad cop isn't unpalatable.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think Woody for me was almost unpalatable. But
There's something I like about the humor of this entire book. You know,
Mhm.
it happens with pretty much all the characters. There's this theme of trying to find the right word for a situation and saying something and then going back and saying, "No, you know what? I don't think that was right." Like when
Yeah.
Woody says the costume looked gay,
Yeah.
not in a derogatory sense, just like I had a gay friend who wore something exactly like this. Like there's always like it's Johnny 2 who the goat
Mhm.
monster kills his brother and he calls the goat fratricidal and then he stops and he says, "Wait, is it only fratricide if you kill your own brother?" And like Woody calls the clone girl Little Miss 69 and Eric's like, "Excuse me?" And Woody's like,
It's like that's
"The
sexist,
clones
dude.
the clones only ever got numbers. They weren't given real
She just
names."
happens to be 69. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's more examples of like carefully like adjusting all of your wording to like you're almost there but you're not quite there yet, or yeah, I know it sounds weird, this actually is the word for this scenario. And like that comedy of precision of somebody trying to figure out, okay, let me articulate this, let me
Yeah.
put this into words, let me use my words correctly. Like that's just a form I really like.
Yeah.
And I think there's something positive about it.
Mhm.
Of or like, oh, the era, that evil organization. It looks like it's all ladies and like one big buff masculine bodyguard. And then the woman, it turns out everybody is a clone of her. And she's like, yeah, she's a clone of me too. We just surgically altered her to sneak into this all male think tank.
Buff, yeah.
Yeah, and then like they immediately like, oh, okay, well we'll fix the pronouns when we refer to this person then. Like there's something very positive about precision. It never doesn't work. You never end up being more negative towards someone based on this linguistic precision. So it's funny. And I think the longer it happens, the more socially conscious it'll get because it's so closely tied to etiquette. Like there's something really funny about etiquette of like taking weird loops and going out of your way and having all of these stretches to reach something that seems preposterous, but no, that is correct. That is what you are supposed to do. Like, I know it sounds wild. I'm calling her Little Miss 69. 69 is her name pretty much for right now until she picks a new one for herself.
Right.
I also want to take a second and say that I liked her character.
Okay.
Because she would just be this kind of dopey, ineffectual arm candy in another story you could imagine, but she has this real, like, she doesn't have a sense of self yet, but she knows that's something she needs to work on.
Yeah.
Because she has lived her life as a clone. So that's her goal. Like, she has got a good amount to start with. And that's what she wants to do. She's like, I will find my purpose in life now that I'm not a clone soldier. When I have my purpose, I will have a name. Like she is consciously building herself up into a person.
Yeah.
The fact that she starts a little blank is the point of her. And I like that she's like her and like Woody, he's not really using her or taking advantage of her. Like, it's a weird situation, but it seems like whatever they have going on is pretty good and they're both enjoying themselves, which is nice.
They're having fun.
She seems to really like Eric. You know, she looks at Eric like her brother now. You know, she goes to visit her clone sister at the police station. I like that she's friendly also. Like, she's going to be like the heart of the team, like keeping this weird family together.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a good character. I think you make some fantastic points. It's just one of those things of that. Yeah, we only read the first 8, so she was still just the arm candy there.
Yeah, named 69. So we'll see what name she has in the future.
I was gonna say something earlier to a point you were making, and now I forget what it was. I don't know.
Do you want to talk about the villains?
Yeah.
Because I thought these villains were really neat. Like the conceit of, not ancient because it's only from like the 18 whatever hundreds, but like that decades old, like kind of a cult American history thing. That I dig. That always works. Where it's, oh, Thomas Edison, he got so famous stealing machines and inventions from other people, basically. He formed an organization that would never stop.
Edison's Radical Acquisitions, I think it was.
Like, it's got a cool acronym, a cool name, like a cool skull flag.
It's kind of like the stuff you would see in like Hellboy, where it's this almost alternative.
That's what it reminded me of, was Hellboy and the Amazing Screw-On Head.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, which I really enjoy. And it sounds like we both liked the stuff that happened in that first volume. Like, I want to see more of that, you know.
Like the second we get the soldier with the like sickle and hammer scarred onto her face, I'm like, okay, I know what kind of book I'm reading now.
Yeah. Which is like, so I remember the thing that I was going to say, and it ties in with this too. Yeah, you mentioned the precision that this book has to do with the comedy and stuff. I think that's what I meant by I see what it's going for. I don't know if it nailed it yet though. Is the thing. Yeah, it is trying to be irreverent, but not so irreverent that you actually are offended. And it's also being like, well, hey, that's not actually what we're trying to do. Like, there is this like odd that backpedaling in how they explain stuff, but that's also what's happening in the book, and it's just this odd irony, and it's funny, and it's like, okay, I get what you're trying to do. I don't know if it's sunk in with
I
me
think
yet.
it works on me because it's not like the narrative backpedaling. Like the writers all have this good positive conscience, and they're making these dickbag characters who are struggling to be like, who are sometimes making attempts to be nice or recognizing when what they said was wrong, and like, okay, I didn't really put that into words correctly. What I should have said was this, both in the social terminology of, oh, that wasn't an insult when I said the costume looked gay, and in this very like pedantic, like linguistic of, well, is it fratricide only if you're the one killing your own brother? It's smart and it's thoughtful.
Yeah, and I think to relate it to the to the ERA stuff, it is more of this. They're trying to do this really wacky, crazy story to take kind of everything out of context, if that makes sense. Like, let's just like, hey, we're in the real world, but we're not. Here's this evil scientific organization of alternate history clones, that, like, it's so stupid, and it's just like, I love that stuff. That stuff makes sense to me. That stuff hits.
That I loved. Like,
even in volume 2, the whole idea of they go to Montana because there's these people stockpiling guns, and there's this other, like, it's two right-wing organizations fighting each other, because and they have this one page that is perfect. Like, I think it was my favorite page in the book, and he's like, wait, so you're a right-wing organization going after another right-wing organization because they think the government is conspiring against them, and they're right? And he's like, yeah, but they're stockpiling guns. But they're only stockpiling guns because they know you're coming after them. And he's like, yeah. And then everyone in the background's like, I see the irony in that. I'm just like, this is great. I love it.
I liked the comic book superhero, like, sci-fi preposterousness more than I like the more commentative political stuff. But that second arc did have something I really liked, which is all the background chatter among the members of that stronghold that are just like, I said that we should spend money building a torture room, and no, you guys wanted to spend it on an ice cream maker. And how many times have we used the ice cream maker? But here we are, and we need to torture somebody.
like I like that. Like, I like when it just gets into the ridiculous. And I think, for me at least, that's where the book really shines. Give me more wacky science. Give me more just ridiculous irony. Like, why are we even here? How did this even happen? You know. That stuff I think plays really well. Since I did read about the comparison to Power Man and Iron Fist, and I mentioned that reading through this, I didn't really get that. I think for me, that's because Power Man and Iron Fist, at least from what I know, is more like they have some wacky stuff in there that happens, but it's not this kind of comedy that I know. So, like, it is a little more straight. It is a little bit more, as they would say in Marvel Comics, it's more street level stuff. It is even more like hip hop influenced. To have, well, yeah, like it has that, those kind of sensibilities where I feel like this didn't. Almost, and that's not a bad thing on this book. I'm just making a comparison. But Yeah, like it's so weird to me that they were like, we want to make our own version of Power Man Iron Fist, and here I am reading like a newer version of that. I do have to say the original of this book was in like 1997 ish, is like when the original Quantum and Woody
wow, I know it's that
happened.
old.
And then Valiant Comics has had some. We're here now. We're bankrupt and we're gone. And now we're here again. Stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, they have an older version of Quantum and Woody, and that was supposed to be the Power Man and Iron Fist stuff. So I don't know if that one was more like that, and then this is taking it a step further or not. But yeah, it's just weird to be like, that's what they were initially going for, and here I am rewriting it and being like, I don't make that connection. Like I see it now that you mention it, but
yeah,
when I read the thing, it didn't shine through.
This is wilder. This is less of two superheroes get into a wacky adventure and more of two absolute misfits whose lives are a disaster accidentally fall into something that vaguely approximates a superhero story. Like, it's so much weirder. It doesn't have that kind of classic superhero backbone to it exactly yet.
Yeah. I'm trying to look up this character. From Power Man and Iron Fist. What's the character? So I know the character. There's an actor that he is based off of. And it's really funny. I'm trying to see.
I don't know anything about these characters.
No, it's not Quantum and Woody. Let's see, what can based off of actor. Dude, what is that? What the hell? All right, someone will yell it at me in the
I can't
on
even
YouTube or something like that.
Comprehend what you're saying enough to turn it into a Googleable question, so I can help.
Because I haven't told you what it is I'm thinking of yet.
There's somebody in a comic book that looks like an actor. Google, help me.
You'll probably get Ultimate Nick Fury.
Yep.
Or Samuel L. Jackson. But so in Power Man and Iron Fist, they do have their own brand of kind of whimsical stupidity.
Okay, like what kind of problems do they run into? Who are one of their wildest foes?
I don't know if they have a foe that's like specific to them, but they'll run into more of the street level gangsters and stuff like that. So they'll run into like Tombstone or stuff like that, or they'll need some help.
Tell me who a Tombstone is.
He's a gangster villain in the Marvel universe. It's pretty nondescript.
Okay.
But so there was a episode, or not an episode, an issue where they needed help from Doctor Strange because they were doing some magic, they thought, so they went to go see him. He's not home, so they're like, oh shit, well, who's, is there someone else who knows about magic here? And they go to Senor Magico. And he is this like home wizard that just does all this stuff. And I quote, in his opinion, quote, Doctor Strange is a pendejo. And he claims that he has forgotten more about magic than Doctor Strange will ever know. But he's trustworthy. He's this like super New Yorker Hispanic wizard that just thinks he's better than Doctor Strange.
Okay,
but he's a street magician.
Yes,
that's all he is. And like that's the kind of whimsical that Power Man and Iron Fist.
I get what you're talking about. They are street level weird, and this is like basement level weird.
This is like, yeah, like alternate science
Yeah.
weird, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a different kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. See, no, thanks, stupid brain of mine. I went to go Google Signor Magico, and instead I only typed in Signor. And I hit enter.
Well, like, who is it? Who is Google's #1 senior?
I think it came up with the definition instead. Wow, there's only literally one picture of Signor Magico.
He sounds fun.
Google search. He's hilarious. He's based off of an actor, and I know you know him. You've seen him in stuff. You don't watch Community, do you? Have you seen
I have seen it. I've seen a handful of sporadic episodes.
That's the one where they build the statue to the actor. Community episode where they build a statue to that actor. Is it? Luis Guzman. That's his name.
He's great.
Yes.
Oh my god. I would love if Luis Guzman was a wizard in a superhero story.
Wouldn't you? That's Senor Magico.
Oh, yes.
Luis Guzman.
Make it real. Bring it to somewhere. Kevin Feige, Disney Plus. Bring it to me.
Yeah, so I think in volume 3, I think the ERA comes back.
I hope so. I loved what a weird combination of people they were. I liked the crone. I like that.
I like the fax machine dude, or the guy that was like half robot, half like
Max, a man who made himself half cyborg.
It's a great
name. I guess cyborg is by definition part human and part robot. So he made himself a cyborg in the 80s. So he is stuck with the technology he had in the 80s. So he can't do very much. And he's like, well, I've got a fax machine in my arm. And I love just all the punny names. Like there's a different guy who's like this kind of melted toxic Avenger looking dude in in like a radiation suit, and his name is Hazmat.
I love it. I love it.
Like that's the kind of weird I really like. The only thing in this story that like I didn't totally like at first was when Detective Sayudo, I presume you pronounce that J the way J is pronounced like in jalapeno, where it morphs and turns into an H.
It's a goddamn jalapeno.
So Detective Sayudo is revealed to be a clone of this crone woman. And at first, I really wanted there to be somebody super duper normal in this entire series. Like somebody who stays very normal, very down to earth, very grounded, that like Quantum and Woody can look at as their lives keep getting weirder. Like, oh, we forgot what normal human life even is anymore. Like I kind of wanted there to be one plain old mortal voice of reason in the entire thing, and that it would be her.
Yeah.
But like that she was a clone and just sort of worked her way up in the ranks and like made a real life for herself undercover on the outside. Just like, this is my life now. Like, no, Mom, my name is Alejandra. I'm not clone number 14 or whatever. Like she's trying to build a life, and then 69 goes to her like, you are basically my big sister. Tell me how to live. How am I a person? Like that relationship I do really dig. So I think that is worth trading a single normal baseline human life voice of reason for anything.
Yeah. I think that'll work out really well as the book continues. I think there was only because I mentioned that Valiant is a shared universe, but they don't you don't really have to read any other books to know what's going on, or you won't get much cross over.
Yeah,
I think there was only one or two references to other stuff in here, but it was so minor and didn't have anything to do with like the story here that it like you can just read this book by itself.
That seems like a good idea to me, because these versions we were reading on Comixology, I don't know if like the print versions would also have this stuff thrown in. Between every issue, they've got a couple pages from another Valiant comic title.
Yeah, just like for an advertisement.
Yeah, and I didn't really stop and read any of them just for time concerns, but I'm flipping through them. I'm kind of getting a sense of what all of them are like, and they seem so much more serious than Quantum and Woody. Like, I'm looking at these, and like, how the heck did these guys just like walk into this dramatic, like, I don't know, kind of war story? Or like, little kid taken away from his parents to develop psychic powers in a lab. Like, how are they also in this world? Like, that seems like it would just break both of them to try and put them together.
Well, it's what it's what DC and Marvel do too. The same universe that has Iron Man and Captain America on Earth also have Deadpool.
Yeah, like Deadpool.
They also have
and
MODOK.
The Punisher exist in the same world.
They
You've
also
got
have
a point there.
Aliens, but they have Drax the Destroyer, Rocket Raccoon in the same universe.
Dracula, Dracula himself.
Yeah, so I think the only major reference to something else was Project Rising Spirit.
Okay,
yeah. So Project Rising Spirit is a secret organization with ties to the U.S. government. They are a military contractor who deal in experimental and often unethical weapons. Their greatest known achievement is the creation of the living weapon Bloodshot using special nanites. They also have ties to the ancient conspiracy known as the Sect. So I don't know if they had an advertisement for Bloodshot in here, but Bloodshot is one of the...
I think I saw an image, like a splash page, if not like a couple pages of a story.
Yeah, he's kind of like a mix between Punisher and Wolverine.
Okay.
Where he has a bunch of guns and stuff like that, and he shoots things, but he's basically injected with these special nanites to allow his body to heal faster and replicate and stuff like that. And he also doesn't they wipe his memory a lot, so he doesn't remember his past, which is a lot like Wolverine. I'm just like, who am I don't know, existential angst, oh my god. And so there's that, and they made Bloodshot to basically be a weapon to go kill the Valiant Universe's version of the X-Men. Basically,
okay.
These people with like powers and stuff like that. But Bloodshot kind of rebels against all of that, and he's like, I don't want to be used by anyone and stuff like that. So he just goes off on his own, and he's more like the Punisher, like, I'm going to kill everyone. So yeah, that's the only reference that I caught. What's also interesting, Valiant has another book called Archer and Armstrong.
Yes.
That one is also a buddy cop style book. And I like that one a lot better.
Is that one more straightforward? I guess anything is more straightforward than Quantum and Woody is.
I mean, if you put it that way, sure. But no, it's just a different kind of weird too.
Okay.
So I forget which one's which. I forget which one's Archer and which one's Armstrong. I'm just gonna go by what their names suggest. I think Archer is the small assassin one, and Armstrong is the big drunk hobo looking one.
That would make sense.
So Archer grew up in a cult and this is the only life he's ever known, and he gets sent on this secret mission to kind of prove himself, and they send him into like the den of sin, also known as New York City, to do stuff. And he gets to New York City. He's like, wow, this is actually really cool. I like it here.
Aww.
and so he starts to very quickly learn that, yeah, I was in a cult my whole life. This is not like what they said the world was like is not actually what it's like.
I'm Googling this thing. Valiant put out an audio drama for Archer and Armstrong.
Did they really?
You'll have to listen to this sometime.
There you go. Yeah, and so like he's this like super sheltered kid that is learning what it's like to not have religion for the first time, and be like, hey, it's okay to have alcohol, it's okay to have sex and do stuff like that, like, you know. And then there's Armstrong, who is this immortal basically, and he is drunk all the time. He's super debaucherous and just like, do whatever you want, live it up. But they meet like this secret organization of nuns who are also assassins, and it's that type of stuff. So it's strange to me that they would have two books that are so similar.
They just flipping through these seem very different, except for the fact that it is buddy cop comedy with straight-laced guy and more hard partying guy.
It's the same like general ingredients, but then they take it into different ways. But yeah, it's just straight, because like you don't really see Marvel or DC putting out multiple books of similar types of characters. Well, I guess I don't know. Take that back, because I was gonna say you could potentially argue that a lot of the Bat family is all just the same type of book and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just I guess what I mean. It's strange that since the Valiant universe is so small.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a book where Archer and Armstrong also team up with Quantum and Woody. I think that would be fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just flipping through these Google image results. This stuff seems neat. I'm glad I read one of these.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten at least the basics of Marvel and DC down, even if I've not actually read very much. I've got movies. I've got cultural osmosis. I have heard the name Valiant Comics for a while. I've seen them in stores. I think I was aware that they kind of had their own budding superhero universe, but I didn't know a thing about them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the most accurate representation of how the rest of their catalog goes, just Quantum and Woody.
Not
but
really.
I did really like it. I'm glad I read it.
Yeah.
I'll probably go back to the rest that's on Comixology Unlimited sometime.
Yeah. So to I guess flesh out the universe that they're in a little bit, I already mentioned Bloodshot, and he's kind of a mix of the Punisher and Wolverine. They also have Exo Man-O-War.
Yes. I remember you pitching that to me once, and I didn't pick it, but it's such a weird title that I remembered it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's very right. They're in this world
title.
Too.
That one is kind of like a mix between Iron Man and Thor, where he is this ancient Visigoth Viking-like character who gets abducted by aliens and escapes by finding this ancient set of like mystical armor that they worship, and the prophecy is that whoever can wear this armor is their like savior thing. And so once a year or every so often they have a ceremony where their greatest warrior tries on the armor, but it every single one, it has killed them. And here comes this Viking guy who's escaping from alien abduction, puts it on and survives, and and starts
It's
fighting his
kind of like a sword in the
way
stone
back.
thing, but like if you don't pull the sword out, the
Yeah,
sword kills you from inside the stone somehow.
exactly. And
Okay.
once he breaks free and gets back to Earth, it's modern day times. And so he's like, what happened to my home? What happened to all of my people? Like,
Yeah.
this is where my home should be, but that's the Roman Colosseum. Like, what is that? And for us, like, that's ancient history. You're from before that? Like, what in the,
wow.
And so he has that Thor of like, the like Thor mannerisms where he's more of this savage Conan type of character, and he's trying to learn to fit in, but he's also just like, I just want to be with my people, and and stuff like that. But he has this like mechanized suit of armor that he can fight in, so that's neat. The Harbingers are the kind of X-Men like characters. They have powers, stuff like that. Toya Harada, I believe is his name, is the one that's kind of leading them up. He's almost like Professor X, but he's also a bad guy. And then there are a team of them that run away and kind of rebel, and those are the quote unquote X-Men that you follow. So instead of like early X-Men being recruited by Professor X, it's like, what if they're recruited by Magneto and then rebel against him to start their own thing? One of the characters on that team, her name is Faith. She is the superhero. She's one of, if not the first, like overweight superhero. Where she is a bigger girl. And she is just the happiest, go-luckiest. I fucking love being a superhero. This is great. And
yay!
Yeah, and her book is fantastic. I have stuff like that. Ninjak is another character. He's kind of like super 90s style. Like, let's have a book about a ninja. Yeah. So they have all sorts of stuff like that. They have a book called Rai, who is this like cyberpunk samurai from the future. So they have their own stuff, and it all ties in. Ties in together. It's good stuff. It's fun.
I googled Faith, and I love her already.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I think she eventually, at some point, ends up dating Archer.
Okay.
From Archer and Armstrong. Good stuff.
Nice. This was a fun new world to learn about.
Yeah. I a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? I haven't read any Valiant comics. I'm just gonna dive in from their new relaunch, which I think happened in 2012. They're like right around that time, and that's where all the number ones started.
Apparently, I'm just still doing some Googling. I have an article from last June saying that Sony is working on a Faith movie starring Rebel Wilson.
Yeah, so with the Marvel Cinematic Universe doing gangbusters at the box office, of course, everyone was being like, we're going to start our own cinematic universe. We got the DC one,
hold on. It doesn't say she's starring at her. It just says she is the fan favorite.
Yeah.
She looks like she could pull it off.
Valiant was also one of the ones to put their name in the hat, being like, hey, we're going to start planning our own cinematic universe for movies and stuff like that.
I'd be down for that, yeah.
Vin Diesel really wants to play Bloodshot. Stuff like that. In fact, I from looking at the Wikipedia page of Quantum and Woody, I don't know how true this is, but it says in other media, a TV series developed by Anthony and Joe Russo, and TBS was announced in 2017.
I think they are a good choice for that. First off, they are brothers.
Yeah,
you can't imitate that.
But they're
like,
also
with their
working
comedy
on
background.
they're making other movies. They're also working on aren't they working on a Star Wars? Aren't they working on that Star Wars show? Joe and Anthony Russo. I thought they were doing something.
So.
I feel like I heard something that they were. I could be wrong, but yeah, it's one of those things. Like a couple years ago, they announced that stuff would be happening, and then we just, where is it? We don't know. Time. Yeah, who knows?
I have faith for faith.
Doing all of that stuff, so I think especially with Marvel basically leaving Netflix and doing that stuff, Netflix would be good to start looking at, like, hey, what other stuff can we do? Can we get Warner Brothers on board and start making DC stuff? Or should we go Valiant and see what stuff is there? I say Valiant. But that's just me. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with this book? Quantum and Woody Volumes 1 and 2.
I was led to believe the goat would be a larger part of the story than it ultimately is, but I think the goat's in there enough.
Yeah.
So if there is sufficient goat for me.
I think it looked like they were doing some kind of digital first or something comic, more focusing on the goat. Just like, hey, here's a one-page comic. Favorite. Yeah. Here's a one-page comic about the goat. Or something like that. I'm not even sure.
I think that's perfect. Like, that is what the story needs, is that, like, final cherry on top of the real bonkers sundae where you put every single topping from the sundae bar in the big bowl and, like, it's all goopy and it's spilling out the sides. You need that one cherry to put on top of it, and it is a goat.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, eventually I just want a one-shot issue of the goat on some adventure, just like Quantum and Woody annual #1, and it's just we're just gonna follow the goat and what he does.
Vincent Van Goat.
Yeah, Vincent Van Goat. That's a great name for a goat.
Quality goat name.
Yeah. Have you heard of a video game called Firewatch?
Yes.
I love that game. It's a fantastic game. In that, you end up finding a turtle, and you can pick up and keep the turtle if you want, and you have the option to name him. And they give a couple names there, but the best one, the one that everyone should have picked, was Turt Reynolds.
Turt Reynolds! It's very good.
Turt Reynolds and Vincent Van Goat. I think would be best friends.
Oh, yeah.
That would be amazing. Let's do recommendations. I think we already kind of mentioned some, but you can explain Venture Brothers better than I can, since I haven't seen much.
Oh, it is my favorite show. And it is about these two brothers and their dad. And their dad was at one time like a Johnny Quest boy adventurer with his dad, but he was not raised very well. And he's a real mess of a dad now. And his two boys are like so sheltered and so bewildered by the outside world. And they think if you just fly around on a jet plane and go on like all of these adventures and you're in a space station and you're in a jungle and you have a bodyguard and you have a robot, like this is normal. This is what normal people do. And it's just about this whole family in their wild world full of, it's like era times 4, the organizations that surround them. There's a character named Phantom Limb whose arms and legs, thanks to a science experiment gone wrong, are invisible. They're not gone, they're just invisible. So he looks like just a floating torso.
That's funny.
Like all kinds of wild, just concept heroes and villains like that are scattered throughout this world. It's really funny, and it's got, if you hit it at the right time, some amazing heart to it, buried beyond just a ton of irreverent jokes.
Okay, good stuff. So yeah, I that is something that was coming to mind, but I obviously haven't seen it. I've seen bits and pieces there, but not the whole show. Power Man and Iron Fist is also another good one to check out. There were a couple volumes a while back. It was a fairly short series. I think it only ran like 24 issues or so of Power Man Iron Fist. That's the one where they meet Senor Magico and stuff like that.
Kyle, I gotta tell you, I forgot Power Man was Luke Cage.
Yes, Luke Cage and Iron Fist.
I've just heard him referred to by his like civilian name for so long. I forgot he had an alter ego.
It's yeah. It's one of the things that it's like it's the title of the book, but they don't actually call him that. Or at least most people don't call him that. But yeah, I would say check that one out as well. I think even Hellboy potentially. I
would also throw out Hellboy, or if you want something that's sci-fi and a little bit weirder, go on YouTube and look up the pilot for The Amazing Screw-On Head.
Okay. Yeah. I think something like that. If you want to dive more into that like weird science alternate history stuff, Hellboy would be a good one to check out. Even Deadpool would be a good thing. I've never read it. I don't ship them. I don't do anything like that, but maybe even Deadpool and Spider-Man. I could see that being a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, go check that stuff out.
Kyle, are you ready for pitches?
Melissa, I am ready for pitches.
Way to go, because I've got 3 of them, the required number.
Okay.
This is more sci-fi this week.
Woo.
Pitch number 1 is, because it is timely and because they are just some of my favorite movies ever, the Men in Black trilogy thus far. And now we've got, I guess you wouldn't necessarily call Men in Black International Men in Black 4, because it's kind of a spin-off reboot continuation sort of deal. But yeah, the original 3 Men in Black movies. These came out in 1997, 2002, and 2012. These were all directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. And we know the story. Cop is recruited by the Men in Black to police aliens across New York and the entire world and the galaxy. This is another goofy guy, straight-laced guy, buddy cop sci-fi adventure.
I was just about to say, like, speaking of recommendations, like this, that might even fit.
Yeah, the first 2 movies are some of my favorite movies. I watched the first Men in Black movie over and over again as a kid, and people sleep on how good the second one is.
Okay.
I have a lot to say about Men in Black 2 specifically.
I saw them all originally when they came out, and I don't think I've ever gone back to rewatch them, unless maybe it was on TV in the background somewhere sometime in my life. But that scene, I think in the first one, where he asks for the sugar water, the farmer dude, that's always stuck with me, and I have no idea why.
Because it's great is why. These movies, now is your chance. I think they're definitely worth a rewatch.
Cool.
Pitch number 2. So weirdly enough, 2 other podcasts I listened to this week coincidentally both had Tom Hanks movies as their topic. And he's an incredibly prolific actor. I've seen him in many things. I have not seen him as just as many other things. What a huge catalog he has. Yes. So I picked a movie I've never seen before. And since my last pitch, the last one we did, there was one of my suggestions, Serenity. I had to keep saying, it's a boat. It's not a spaceship. It's not a spaceship. I picked a movie with a spaceship. Kyle, you have the option this week of watching Apollo 13.
Okay.
I wouldn't call this a sci-fi film. It has sci. I think there's only a limited amount of fi in it. This is based on a true story.
Sure.
This is the 1995 film from director Ron Howard, where NASA must devise a strategy to return Apollo 13 to Earth safely after the spacecraft undergoes massive internal damage, putting the lives of the 3 astronauts on board in jeopardy.
It's a sci non-fi.
Yeah, it's a sci truth.
Sure.
Yeah, I've never seen this one. I think it's about time to watch a real science movie and not just all fantastic sci-fi adventure. So let's
educate ourselves on some real science.
Yeah,
here.
you know, well, maybe let's watch one that doesn't have aliens in it for once. You know, pay tribute to some real space heroes from human Earth. And pitch number 3 is another spaceship movie. This one is full sci-fi, full fun fantasy adventure. This is Titan AE.
Oh, okay.
This is an animated movie from the 20th Century Fox studio. I think this is one of the last animated movies they put out. This is from the year 2000. This is directed by Gary Goldman and Don Bluth, who is the director of Anastasia and The Land Before Time and An American Tale and like so many of the non-Disney animated movies you remember as a kid.
Yeah.
A lot of that was Don Bluth.
Okay.
And this story, I'd completely forgotten, was co-written by Joss Whedon and Ben Edlund, creator of The Tick.
Ooh.
This has got quite a pedigree behind it. And the description from the back of my DVD box, it's the year 3028, and the Dredge, a vicious alien race, have destroyed Earth. 15 years later, a young man named Kale learns he possesses a genetically encoded map to the Titan.
What a hipster name.
I know, this was before I think that anybody knew about that.
He was named Kale before it was cool.
He is an encoded map to the Titan, a spaceship that holds the secret to the salvation of the human race. With the Dredge in the hot pursuit, Kale blasts off with the new crew of the Valkyrie in an attempt to find the Titan before the Dredge destroy it, along with mankind's last chance for a home of their own. This is a fun, slightly cyberpunky sci-fi film that I remember really liking when I saw it as a kid. And oh, it's just sort of fallen off. I don't think anybody talks about this movie anymore, but we could.
Okay. What did I do here? Let's see. So pitch number 1 was the Men in Black trilogy, which would be fairly timely since Men in Black International just released this weekend. Or I guess the weekend we're recording this.
Yeah.
That's what I should have done. That's what I should have pitched last week. I didn't even think about it. Pitch number 2 was Apollo 13. And pitch number 3 was Titan AE. You reminded me of one of my favorite shows. With pitch number 3, Titan AE. That's the one I'm gonna do because it reminds me of Battlestar Galactica.
I can see that. Yeah.
Earth is destroyed. They're on a ship out in space, having to find salvation for humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, so. It's got a similar kind of grit to it, but also, you know, it is a kid's fun sci-fi adventure.
Sure. I think that'll be good. So that's what we're going to do next week.
Good to revisit.
Titan AE. I don't think I've ever actually seen it. I remember it coming out. I remember commercials for it being everywhere. Like you couldn't avoid them. But I don't think I ever saw it.
I have not seen it in a long time. I own the DVD, but I haven't pulled it out in a while. So this will be a good revisit for me too. I don't remember how most of it goes anymore.
Good stuff. That is what we will do for this next week. We hope you guys watch along at home and join us. And if you guys want, you can become our Patreon supporters for $1 and join the live streams and be a part of the conversation too. We would absolutely love that. That being said, Melissa, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT.
And I am at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want updates with this podcast or any of the other ones that we do, we are at The Whatnauts on Twitter. Patreon.com/The Whatnauts is where you can support us. Don't forget, we got all that exclusive content. Go like, share, subscribe. You guys know the deal. We would absolutely love your support on both YouTube. You guys can just search The Whatnauts.
You can watch
us. The Whatnauts podcast. Yeah, you can watch us there. We would love your support on there. Even if it's not where you typically watch, we would love the subscribe, as well as on Twitch at twitch.tv/The Whatnauts. We could use your support there as well. We've been plateaued at about 30-something followers on both of them, which is a very small, humble amount.
Well, follow us on YouTube. You know, Kyle dresses all these streams up real nicely, puts them on there.
I thought you were gonna say Kyle dresses when he gets on this stuff.
He's got a shirt on. I can prove it.
I mean, maybe that's a reason for them not to subscribe. Maybe, I don't know. Like, who knows what they want, you know? But yes, go like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. We could use your support. That would be much appreciated. We will see you guys next week. Adios, guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out that episode of the Whatnauts review show. If you read along with us, we hope you enjoyed Quantum and Woody Volumes 1 and 2. Let us know in the comments below if you have any other recommendations for what people might like if they liked this book. That being said, go subscribe to our channel up here and go watch one of our other videos right down here. That would help us out a bunch. Thank you so much. We love you. Bye.